And welcome back to the Hot Lap, our rated and slated, yes, our driver ratings. Well, we don't really give them a 1 out of 10, A, B, C or D. We basically are slightly harsh. We go from the worst driver to the best driver, at least in our opinion, at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Controversial issues as well involved. Realistically, yeah, that first corner clash, we are going to take that into account. We're going to take also Max Verstappen's fantastic qualifying into account because it's the whole weekend in our hands is what we are going to be rating the whole thing on. I think that's a lot of holes. So as we begin, the start, who was the worst driver? It kind of breaks my heart, actually, to talk about who is the worst driver for the 2025 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. It is this guy here. He just didn't really impress. Now, the caveat being, yes, Jack Doohan, our worst driver, just for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, he just was kind of anonymous. Now, I appreciate, not that I'm going to give him an escape clause, but it is a difficult race. It is a really hard race to learn. But last year, we had a certain Oliver Bearman that did very well. So I cannot in good conscience put him too much higher. I mean, it was kind of a debate, either this guy being the last or this guy, yeah, surprise, surprise, Lance Stroll being the last, in spite of the fantastic, I keep saying, first few races he's had. We've now got back to Lance Stroll normality, it would seem. He even came out and said, I mean, now he's got the stats for being essentially the worst qualifier when you look at the amount of Q3, you know, the amount of Q1 exits. He's turned around and said, well, you know, if you're racing a Sauber every weekend, of course you'll have the most. But he's not been racing a Sauber every weekend and he's still being a bit crap. Let's be honest. Poor Lance Stroll making excuses since 2018, 2019 or whenever he started. I forgot. He has been here a while. But yeah, Lance Stroll, our second worst driver of the race. Next up, Bortoleto once again. I mean, with Lance Stroll, I mean, to be fair, Lance Stroll, he qualified 16th, and where did Lance Stroll finish? When we're talking about Stroll, he finished 16th. Bortoleto finished 18th, and he kind of like qualified last, up a couple of places. Hulkenberg qualified 18th as well. His teammate didn't finish too much higher, and it's just a bit. When you're racing one of the worst cars, as Lance Stroll said, but Lance Stroll has not always raced the worst car, so it doesn't count for him. It's a bit difficult, really. So it's by the way, Bortoleto, yeah, our next worst driver, followed by Nico Hulkenberg again. When you're racing in the stake F1, it's widely confirmed to be the worst. Best? What am I talking about? It's widely confirmed to be the worst car. So fair enough then. So next up, we have the house of Esteban Ocon. He got out qualified by Ollie Bearman. Ollie Bearman's not too bad at it. He got out raced as well. So Ocon, he finished 14th. Bearman finished 13th. And when you look at the qualifying, Ocon 19th. And obviously Bearman 15th. So yeah, Ollie Bearman significantly better. So next up, we've got this man here. Why? Well, he didn't really. Yes, I know he's now in the Red Bull, but this man, Yuki Tsunoda, he didn't really set the world alight on the race because he essentially didn't really start, really, did he? He went away on lap 1, but we cannot forget, and I have to take into account kind of his fairly solid qualifying position, especially compared to Max Verstappen, who got pole. He was still a bit off, but still, he got into Q3. He qualified 8th, so a solid qualifying for him. It's just a bit unfair. He didn't do much better in the race, as did this guy here, Pierre Gasly. I mean, these guys, for me, are pretty much even. Pierre Gasly, in a worse car, qualified just behind Tsunoda. And obviously in the race, they both came together. When looking at it, it's difficult to completely blame one or the other. It could have been avoided, though, couldn't it? It could have been avoided by both of them. So, yeah, not particularly great. But next up is Oliver Bearman. So, the man he beat, as we said, he beat Ocon in the race, and he beat Ocon in qualifying, significantly in qualifying. But in the race, sadly, only 13th. Couldn't replicate his points of last year, albeit, yes, he was in a Ferrari last year. So, yeah, Ollie Bearman there. So, after Ollie Bearman, we have this man here, Liam Lawson, not in the Red Bull, obviously. So he finishes 12th, a couple of places outside the points. The reason he's not any higher, because he ended up getting a penalty, didn't he? Forcing his car off the track. 10 seconds, which is what a lot of people thought Max Verstappen should get. But some people thought Max should not have got a penalty at all. More on that in another video, I think. So in qualifying, he qualified 12th as well. So at least he's fair. At least Lawson is fairly consistent. And one above Lawson, in our opinion, was Fernando Alonso, who I think has a much worse car. Yes, he qualified 13th, and in the race, he didn't do much better, did he? Outside the points. To be fair, well, he was outside. Was he outside the points? You know, he was 11th, one place outside the points. So Fernando Alonso still, sadly, to get off that points board. Next up, we've got the man that finished 10th. The man that scored some points was Isaac Hadjar. Well done, Mr. Hadjar. Really upsetting the Williams all the way through the last parts of the race, meaning the Williams had to use the power of friendship, that's what I mean, Matty, to make sure they finished 8th and 9th. But he got out-qualified by Lawson, but he outraced Lawson. Well done. This guy is becoming a potential star in the making. So we've got Lewis Hamilton. Disappointing. He finished 7th. He ended up qualifying 7th. He just can't get to grips with the car. Charles Leclerc he finished up there, didn't he? He finished 3rd. And you start to wonder, what does Lewis Hamilton have to do? The rumours are that he's essentially cancelled plans between now and Miami to get to grips with that car. And I think he does do. I've always said we're going to give him till Silverstone until we start proper slating him. But we still need to kind of slate him, because when you look at his team, he's doing a lot better. And we know how good Lewis Hamilton can be. He is statistically the best driver of all time. Yeah. So next up, we've got Alexander Albon, who's not ahead of Carlos Sainz, simply because the power of friendship, Carlos Sainz helped Alex Albon, I think, finish 9th by keeping him in the DRS train. But still, he had to be somewhat talented to finish there. One higher is Lando Norris. Yes, it was he qualified 10th. What a massive mistake. And also a potential massive mistake for the championship as well. Not particularly good for Lando of the Norris, but I think a really solid race just outside of that podium. Another couple of laps, he probably would have got a podium, but Lando Norris is, average, just above average, I think, when it came to the race. And next up, we've got Max Verstappen. Now, he did do an amazing lap, which was helped by his teammates to get that, because I think without his teammates, he probably wouldn't have got pole, but he still had to do the rest of the lap, let's say, all the other corners, and he did well, apart from the start, where he decided that he was playing Mario Kart and he just went straight across for the shortcut. Yes, he sort of made a feeble attempt to take the corner and then threw his toys out the pram. He basically got Verstappened, which is why he's let me see, when we look at it, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're still putting him as like the 6th best driver of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix weekend. And yes, he did finish 2nd. I think he was lucky to. He should have got a 10-second penalty, in our opinion, because of the way it was with the telemetry, etc. But I can understand other people saying, I get it. We're not always going to agree. It has divided the internet. And, poor Verstappen. Not so poor Carlos Sainz. So I think this man did quite well. Once again, points for Carlos Sainz, points for Williams in 8th, dragging Alexander Albon up with him. Absolutely well done for Carlos Sainz. And again, I think a solid, if not spectacular, but a solid result for Kimi Antonelli, who ended up finishing 6th. And he also qualified. Kimi Antonelli qualified for 3. He did lose a place, but to Lando Norris, but I think fairly solid there. For bearing in mind, George Russell was struggling somewhat with the car. And it's George Russell who is indeed next up for our Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Drivers rated and slated, finishing 5th. Yep, not quite on the podium that he's been used to of late. And Russell qualifying 3rd, so he'll be a bit disappointed. But that Mercedes, it was just chewing its tyres up. He had no tyres. And I think had the race lasted a few laps longer, even Kimi Antonelli would have got by. Would have got by him. But I think he did. And the best result he could have done. And to keep it there, not bad. So he is our 3rd place driver for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Our 2nd place driver is the one who finished 3rd. Not 2nd. The one who finished 3rd. Yeah, it is Charles Leclerc. I think Charles, in qualifying and in the race, got the absolute maximum he could have done out of that car. Qualifying 4th, finishing 3rd. Fantastic. And I think had Max Verstappen got a 10-second penalty, he probably would have finished second. And bearing in mind, yes, we had the safety car early on lap 1. Then there was no safety car. He only finished 8.1 seconds behind Piastri, who I think, yes, was managing the pace somewhat, but that's not too bad. Within 10 seconds, and Norris got so close to getting Leclerc, so he held off Lando Norris, which is why he's the second best driver of the day. Now, it's going to be no surprise who is the best driver of the day. It is the man who Max Verstappen. It is Oscar Piastri at the first corner. He kept it. He upset Max Verstappen enough for him to get a 5-second penalty. He raced, as Max Verstappen. So Oscar Piastri, our driver in the end, in our opinion, our driver of the day. Having had a day to think about it, I just want to say absolutely well done, Oscar Piastri. Fantastic stuff. So let's go then through all of our drivers from bottom to first. It was Mick Doohan, absolutely not particularly good at all, along with Lance Stroll. I'm pretty sure they're friends. Gabriele Bortoleto and both Nico Hülkenberg have rubbish cars. What can we really ask of them? Next up is Esteban Ocon. Yeah, out-qualified by your teammate, out-raced by your teammate. Yuki Tsunoda. Okay, solidly qualifying, not particularly very good race because he crashed with this man here. It's a bit difficult to judge. Ollie Behrman, out the points, kind of a shame. Liam Lawson got that penalty, whoops a daisy. Did out-qualify his teammate though, Hadjar. But talking about Hadjar, well, Alonso is there, but Hadjar is next. Solid, 1 point, well done. Lewis Hamilton, yeah, disappointing, exceedingly average. Alexander Albon really helped by Carlos Sainz, but got a point for Williams. Lando Norris whoops a daisy on that qualifying mistake, but well done in the race. Max Verstappen, boo-hoo, throwing our toys out the pram after that first corner, doing Mario Kart. Carlos Sainz, well done. The power of friendship, winning points for Williams. Kimi Antonelli, solid result. George Russell chewing his tyres and made the best of it. Charles Leclerc, well done, Charles. Best he could have done. Oscar Piastri. Excuse me, Verstappen. Well, I'm going to choke. So, if you made it to the end, because I don't think I will, give us a subscribe. Thank you very much. And hopefully I'll speak to you soon.